Hi, this is Jayaprakash, lecturer from Computer Science and Engineering Department, Government Polytechnic for Women, Bengaluru. So, this is the third session of green computing, the green devices and hardware. Okay. So, the next phase of the life cycle of the components of the IT infrastructures include the design phase, the manufacturing phase, the packaging phase, the usage phase, the reusal and disposal. So now let us start with packaging and transportation phase. The packaging and transportation also contribute to the carbon footprints in the device life cycle. These are the materials used for packaging and the carbon footprint of the vehicles used in the transportation. The amount of the materials used for packaging needs to be kept at minimum. So the packaging and transportations includes the materials while by packing the materials, the carbon footprints of the it will arise because these materials, whatever used for packing, may contain a toxic materials. And also while transporting these materials, going to use the vehicles. So they are going to emit the carbon dioxide. Obviously, it will also lead to the pollutions. The size of the device is an effect of the amount of packaging required. If the size of the device is more, obviously the packaging content increases. So at the design stage, the efforts must be made to make the device as compact as possible. So while manufacturing phase itself, if the device component size is very less, obviously the packaging also requires less raw materials. Eco-friendly materials like recycled paper, potato scratch, and recycled cardboard can be used as packaging materials, and soy ink can be used for printing. So while packaging, we have to use recycled paper so that it will minimize the raw materials, and also potato starch materials and also recycled cardboard. So recycled materials, packing materials can be used so for packing the new materials also, so that it will minimize the raw materials in packaging. And also the ink whatever used for printing on the top of the on the top of the raw materials, whatever the component top, we're going to write or we are going to print. So the soya ink can be used for printing because the ink also makes the environment and affected. The following are the general recommendations for designing the suitable packaging materials should be recyclable. The amount of the packaging material should be kept at minimum. So the size of the component should be less. So obviously the amount of the packing material is also less. Various materials used in packaging should be easily separable to ease the recycling process. So we are going to use cardboard and also plastics. So it should be minimal, okay, and can be easily separable. Adhesive use should be reduced by using force and taps instead. So instead of using the adhesive materials, you can use for force and taps methods so that you should avoid the adhesive materials because adhesive materials are also toxic for the environment. All additives and coatings and inks that get added to the packages should be eco-friendly. So whatever the printing materials that are used on the packaging materials should be of soya ink or other materials which should not affect the nature. So the additives, the coatings and the inks get added to the packages should be eco-friendly. The printed documentation can be avoided wherever possible. So instead of printed documentation, you can use the soya ink to write on the component. So it will makes the environment green because the printed materials may also affect the nature. Then what are the use? A significant amount of energy is consumed by the devices when they are being used. The increase in the device carbon footprint and impact on the environment. So if the use of packaging and transportation in a proper way will reduce the carbon footprint. The energy efficient devices reduce energy consumption and cost. People should learn the usage pattern of the devices results in optimal energy consumption. So we have to use in a minimal way. So these carbon footprint should be used in a minimal way so that it should not affect the nature. So let us see how the different computer infrastructures will affect the nature or will affect the environment. The strategies that help in reducing the power consumption include the following, which are those first one. In the computers, what are the methods we can follow so that it should minimize the energy? Because the energy consumptions will make the nature affected. Because when you use maximum energy, obviously the production of the energy increases. So it will the GHG gas emissions increases. So we have to reduce the energy. So what are the methods that can be used in the computers which will reduce the energy? First one, reduce the brightness of the monitor. A brighter screen consumes more energy. So reduce the monitor brightness. So adjust to the good level. Otherwise, the power consumption increases. Switch off the monitor when some background task is running on the computer. So switch off the monitor when it is not when the computer is not in the use. So switch off the monitor. And other methods is use power saving profiles. So screen savers can be used, which will minimize the energy and also reduce the amount of energy consumed. Do multitasking. So instead of using the computer for a longer time, do the multiple tasks if possible. So it will reduce the usage of energy by the computer. Keep the minimum number of processes at the startup. So number of processes also at the startup you can reduce the number of processes because many processes are not required. So when you minimize the number of processes at the startup method, so it will reduce the consumption of computer. So it will avoid the energy consumption. Servers. Servers are the centralized storage where the different desktops are connected. Okay, the servers you consume maximum amount of energy, and also the servers are, are the computer designed to serve the needs for other computers. Server generates a large amount of heat due to their large power consumption, hence they require better cooling system. The server should be used in a proper way, otherwise the power consumption will be more, and also heating is more. So by adopting the cooling methods, the heating method is lessened. Obviously, the power consumption will be lessened. So server use major energy. So we have to minimize the usage of energy in the servers so that the energy consumption is made less. Next, the mobile devices. The mobile devices comprises mobile phones, personal digital assistants, and other smart devices. These devices are produced in large numbers and are designed for operation with low power consumption. So mobile device should be minimally used because in today's world, every person is having a mobiles and smart devices. So the consumption of the mobile devices should be lessened. Chargers consume more power, even not cha- charging a battery, and hence waste power. So when it is not required, if you put on the charge also, the power consumption will occur. So chargers should be switched off or unplugged when they are not in charging. So whenever the charges is not required, so you should not switch on the mobile by using a charger. Okay, because chargers can be used only when there is a no charge in the mobile. Otherwise, the power consumption increases if you put on the on the switch charger. Next, specialized devices. The specialized devices are designed for specific purpose, such as set-top boxes, playstations, and medical equipment like X-ray machines and computerized tomography CT scanners. So these are the other devices where the consumption of energy will be used. This is also includes the IT infrastructures. Example, set-top boxes used in the TVs, televisions, the playstations, and medical equipment like X-ray machines and CT scanners also consumes the energies, which is also made up of the semiconductors materials. Obviously, when it is not in the use, you have to switch off and you have to follow rules and regulations or a standard method so that the energy consumption in these materials should be avoided. So in the computers, the servers, the mobile devices, the special devices, there the consumption of the energy will be more. It should be used in a minimal way. Okay. So these are the methods how we can minimize the energy consumption and makes the environment green. Thank you.